Hey everyone, and welcome to Too Ambitious. I'm your host, Trish Lindo. This is a live series that celebrates Black women and women of color entrepreneurs who are changing the world. They are change agents, and yes, these women are very, very ambitious. Make sure that you let us know where you're joining from. I'm over here in the Bay Area. Where are you joining from? Let us know how the weather is, and definitely show a lot of love in the comments. Likes, hearts are all welcome. Now, today, I'm super excited to have our guest on today, Ms. Nikki Barua. Now, Nikki is the CEO and co-founder of Beyond Barriers. Nikki is on a mission to accelerate the success of female leaders. Beyond Barriers is a global leadership platform that helps individuals and companies go further faster with proven strategies, guidance, and exceptional community of experts and peers. Nikki is also a best-selling author, international keynote speaker, and a LinkedIn top voice. Yes, she is all that. So please welcome to the show, Miss Nikki Barua. Nikki, welcome.
So great to be here, Trish. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm super happy that you're here to have this conversation with us. Everyone, make sure that you light up, show us some loves in the comments. Let Nikki know that you are happy that she's here to drop some wisdom and drop some knowledge with us. We want to see all that great energy today for this show. Now, Nikki, let's jump right in. We met a couple of years ago, and I was completely fascinated, and still am, that you are a self-described serial entrepreneur. So that's the first part. So let's start there. When you say you're a serial entrepreneur, what exactly does that mean?
It means that I'm obsessed with finding problems to solve. I'm just really, really curious and I get excited about solving problems that helps other people.
Mhm.
And that's why I keep building businesses. So it's been a joy to be able to do that in service of important things that can make the world a better place, but more importantly, to do it with teams that I absolutely love. And that's what makes the journey such a joy, not just the destination.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, was that your dream when you came here from India 25 years ago, to build so many successful business? Was that a goal?
Gosh, no. At that point, it was just survival. Let's be honest. When you come here, with nothing, you're simply trying to survive. You're trying to adapt. You're trying to figure out how to make a living, and figure out how to adapt into an entirely new environment. So, um, I came to America with all kinds of big dreams because I wanted to be someone. I wanted to make a difference,
Yeah.
but I didn't quite know how that would happen. I just believed that somehow, somewhere, I'd find a way. But the truth was, it was a lot harder than I expected. You think this is the American dream. You're going to come here and everything's going to work out. And instead, I couldn't tell the difference between a nickel, a dime, and a quarter. I couldn't drive on the right side of the road. I didn't know how to fit into American work culture. So there was a lot of change that I had to adapt to. And what, now looking back, all of those obstacles and all of those things I had to, learn and adapt quickly really made me resilient. And through that process, it teaches you a lot about yourself, what
Yeah.
you're made for,
Mhm.
and what you're capable of. And when you start to believe in that, the path before you opens up. So I started my career in corporate America, building my career in technology and innovation, and working for some of the world's largest companies, and did very well there. But there was always this dream of entrepreneurship, of being, leading a venture that does good in the world, and shaping it in my vision. And when I had the opportunity to do that, I leaped into it more than a decade ago, and I've been on it ever since. So
That is super inspiring, and as a fellow immigrant, I can totally relate as well. That journey in the beginning it's tough. You
it
know,
is.
It's
Yeah.
really tough, and you don't get a lot of credit for those first few years when you were just trying to figure it out, so kudos to you, for navigating that so well. When, so you
I
started
still
with
can't drive though, let's be honest.
you
So
can't? No
I'm still a
way.
terrible driver, so still haven't quite gotten that part right, but learned a lot of other skills,
Right,
hopefully of
right,
more value.
exactly.
So
And plus you're in New York, so you're fine.
exactly.
You're fine. So I know, you started in corporate. When did you decide to make the shift to be an entrepreneur? When did you know? Because there's so many people who are in a similar boat. They may be in corporate right now, and they're
Hmm.
trying to figure out, how do you know when it's time to go start your own thing, basically? How did you know?
Um, for me, I was, always pursuing different ideas along the way that were unrelated to my job. But I hadn't fully committed because there was no idea that made me feel this is worth really giving up everything for. And it wasn't until, I came to that point when I realized, the risk and the loss of whatever comes making this choice is worth any level of success in the job that I have. And at that point, it became this unstoppable force. It was just such a strong force of wanting to pursue that ambition, wanting to pursue that dream, that the faith in that future was greater than the fear that might be holding me back.
Mm.
And I just leaped into it. There was, I didn't. Now looking back, I probably could have done things slightly differently. So my advice to anyone who's currently in a job thinking about pursuing their entrepreneurial dreams, get a few things lined up. I kind of leaped into it with absolutely nothing. There was no team, there were no clients, there was no revenue, nothing in place. And I just sort of leaped into it, and it made the path way harder than it needed to be. I had to, like, I was making sales calls and like hoping to get my first deal, and 300 rejections later and a whole bunch of failures later, eventually it worked, but it was really, really hard to survive those days. So, if anyone else is in that similar position, one thing to consider is that, get some of the basics in place before you just go quit and launch
Yeah.
something. Some of the basics could be, make sure you have enough of a financial cushion. Make sure you have 6 to 12 months of savings that give you enough cushion to, start something, because typically when you start something new, it takes, a lot longer to actually make a living than you realize.
Yeah.
The second thing is, be clear about, you know who you're really trying to serve. Like, who are your customers? How are you going to solve the problems for them? And ideally, if you can even get one opportunity that sets you up on that path, it makes everything a lot easier. So I'd certainly suggest like getting some of those basics in place before you just dive in like I did.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, we were speaking earlier too, it's like a lot of times, entrepreneurship is glamorized, that, it
Hmm.
is an overnight sensation, and that's not the case. It's years of failures and wins too, but it's not an easy road. So I appreciate you kind of reiterating that it does take time and work. So you had your very first business. What was it, by the way? What was the first business that you decided to start?
So the very first business was years and years ago. That was a consulting company, because I came from, professional services background, so it was something familiar to me, and was in technology consulting. And I started that with a business partner, and it did pretty well right off the bat. And as it kept going, one of the things I realized was, while it was making money and it was doing well, I wasn't really that passionate about the work that we were doing. So it was an interesting discovery that, on one hand, it scratched the itch of sort of building a business, but on the other hand, it wasn't something that I felt I wanted to, keep doing for a long time. It was, um, it's sort of like having a job that pays the bills, but you're not really passionate about it. And
Yeah,
that idea applies just as much in entrepreneurship as it does
yeah,
in, have in any other kind of employment. So it's important to really think about if you had to be on this journey for a very long time, what is it that you would stay passionate about? What is the kind of problem that you want to keep solving,
Yeah.
even when you don't get the accolades, when there's no glamour, and most likely there's not a whole lot of income either. So be sure to answer that question for yourself.
Yeah.
That what would make you want to wake up every morning and keep hustling and go to bed even when you feel like you've accomplished absolutely nothing. And when you feel like that is aligned with what you're doing, it gives you the energy to keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, that's where a lot of people kind of, falter a little bit, because obviously chasing money and trying to make a living is a real thing. But, it's tough, because sometimes you're like, I'll go this path because this will make me, the most money right now, but I'm not really into it, and then I follow my passion, but it's going to take me, maybe an extra 2, 3 years to really
Mhm.
see that profitability, on the back end. So, it's a tough
Two,
one.
3 years if you're lucky.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Now let's talk about where you're at today. You've got Beyond Barriers that you co-founded with Monica Marquez. Tell me a little bit about that, and how did you both come up with this idea for Beyond Barriers?
So it originally started with my book, which came out in 2018, and it did really,
Okay.
really well. And a lot of folks started reaching out to me about just the impact of the book and the frameworks within it, and wanting to know more. Um, that was the first indication that there is a need in the market, that a lot of people are facing challenges that this book is clearly able to help them with, but it's sort of, just scratching the surface of it.
Yeah.
Um, from there, it led to more speaking and workshops and things like that, and eventually led to the podcast. And at that point, we started to experiment with, what would it look like if this was a more tangible solution that actually helped people go from where they are to where they want to be in a very systematic manner. So once we piloted that approach, it became clear that there was an opportunity to do this at a very large scale and really build a tech platform for professional development.
Mhm.
And at that point, we're four co-founders at Beyond Barriers, the tech platform. And so Monica and I joined forces with Brooke and Laura Ricketts, and launched the company in Jan of 2022. And since then, we've been really fortunate to serve people from all over the world across some of the world's best companies, so many different industries, and have seen consistent outcomes every single time, that we're able to help people that are feeling stuck or feeling like they don't have the clarity or the confidence to achieve their ambitions,
Right.
and really get them unstuck and generate career momentum in just 3 months. So they go from this place of, I know I'm capable of more, but I just don't know how to get there. And that frustration and that inertia and that self-doubt that sets in, and you start to think, am I really capable of that? Like, what if there was another level I could get to, but I don't know who to get help from? And you can get mentors who give you advice, you can read books and all of that, but it doesn't really tell you the exact recipe, the exact step-by-step thing you can do to go from, your current stage or career stage that you're at to skipping levels and going much further ahead in the shortest possible time. And often women and minorities find themselves working twice as hard to go half as far. And
Yeah.
that was the problem we all set out to solve, is to say, how can we break that? How can we, create an environment where every person can, live up to their highest potential and get to their North Star in the fastest possible way?
Mhm.
And so that's what the Beyond Barriers platform is really about, is we're using technology, we're using experts from all around the world. We're using, really cutting edge curriculum, and AI that is helping people go from, where they are to where they want to be in the shortest possible time. And for me, it's like living the dream, because this was exactly the challenge that I faced
Yeah.
and overcame. And to be able to do that for millions of people worldwide is truly a joy.
Yeah, absolutely. And, full disclosure, I did take the
That's
program
right.
as well, the Beyond Barriers Executive Accelerator. Thank you. And
Yeah,
I
actually, on that, while we work primarily with companies, we also have, an executive program that is for experienced professionals, for founders, for, a lot of folks that are going through transitions, like they're quitting their jobs or starting their company or early stage of the business, and they're really looking for that, momentum that gets
right.
them going like a rocket ship. And,
Yeah.
Trish, you've experienced firsthand the impact that it can
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And, I love the program, and I would definitely say it gave me the confidence to do a lot of the things that I'm doing right now, this show, really sort of what I really enjoyed in addition to, meeting a lot of my peers is it was very easy to say, this is what you do. I love the
have.
step-by-step process of the how-tos because a lot of that you're not taught,
That's exactly
and
right.
you're just not. So, especially when
Especially
you're
when you don't have access. I think that
exactly.
that's
Exactly.
really access is the game changer. We
Yeah.
all know that. And people
Yeah.
that have access, their environment, their connections, their network, they automatically know what they're supposed to know. But
Yeah.
when you are someone who's on the outside of every inner circle, you just don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So you don't even know the questions to ask. You don't know how to get the help.
Right.
And even if you did ask, you're getting really high level direction versus that step by step recipe that says, do this, say this, take this next action step. And when you can break it down into something so simple that it makes, taking action just inevitable,
Yeah.
that's where success, really comes from.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, that has been a barrier for a lot of, people of color is not having that access and that knowing. So I love what you and your team have built. It's definitely something that is going to have a long-term impact on so many people's lives. And I thank you for that. When you talk about this program, if someone wants to be a part of this program or join the program, if they're in a corporate space or if they are, an entrepreneur, how do they go about, is there like a selection process or how does it work?
Yeah, so if you're an individual that's interested, you just have to go to gobeyondbarriers.com. There's an application process, so you just apply. And the reason for that application is simply wanting to understand what is important to you, what does success look like, and understanding the best way to provide the right environment for you. So we design cohorts in a very thoughtful way that you feel you belong, you feel valued, you feel understood, you have that safe space. Because this is, really important personal transformation, not just professional growth. And it's important for people to feel like they are in that environment where they have the right support system, the right coach, the right cohort members, and that allows them that a space to grow. So that's what the application process is about. And we have cohorts every month that launch, and
Yes.
our goal is simply to match you to the right one.
Yeah, amazing. And it's a 12-week program, right? Or is there different amount of time?
It's a 1 year membership, which kicks off with the first 12 weeks accelerator, because that's where you're learning all of the fundamentals. And then after that, you keep applying it because just like fitness, you don't just go to the gym one time or for 12 weeks. Real change happens when you stay consistent with it. So the first 12 weeks, think of it as just mastering the fundamentals. And then after that, we help you stay consistent and build those muscles and keep getting stronger.
Yeah, absolutely. I do agree. I have tried going to the gym once and yeah, it doesn't work. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have to keep showing up apparently. So
Yeah.
yeah, I completely understand that. And I know, Nikki, you mentioned your book as well, Beyond Barriers, How to Unlock Your Limitless Potential. And you created some steps for anyone that
Mhm.
can access it. What are your 3 steps and that you would say that people will need to access their success or be their best selves?
Yeah, the 3 steps that I highlighted in the book and even in the Beyond Barriers program, we built upon that. The first is clarity. It's even Oprah talks about that. One of the most important questions for anyone to ask themselves, no matter what you're trying to achieve, is what do you really want? And as
Yeah.
simple as that question sounds, often we don't have brutally honest answers to that question. Because sometimes, what we want is influenced by expectations that we think other people have of us,
Yep.
or our conditioning and what we are believed to, be. So, for example, when I was growing up, the expectation was you got to, what do you want to be? Was got to be a doctor or an engineer. There weren't a whole lot of other choices that existed. So, to have the self-awareness and total honesty to say, this is what I really want, and this is why I want it.
Yeah.
When you have total clarity on that, and that answer can change from time to time, but
Yeah.
as it stands right this moment, what is it that you really want? Once you have that clarity, courage emerges from that. We often talk about, well, I want to do that, but I'm just not that courageous, or I'm scared to do it, or I'm afraid I might fail. I would challenge to say that it's not the lack of courage, it's actually the lack of clarity that's holding you back.
Mhm.
Because if you were totally clear about something and why it matters to you, you don't even have to dwell on fear and courage and all of those things. You
Yeah.
will just be propelled into moving forward, right? Because your faith in that future of what is important to you overtakes any fear that holds you back. So the
Yeah.
next step is really about courage, is, how do you sort of harness that courage and that initial step? How do you keep building on that? Because each time you take a step, there's going to be a new limiting fear that'll come about. You take
Right.
some action, next thing there's another fear that comes up, and then you have to keep battling those. You have to keep identifying what the next fear is,
Right.
figuring out how to reframe that fear in a way that you can move forward and keep taking action. And what I've found is, that confidence is built on evidence of success. You
Mm.
can't just stare at yourself in the mirror, say affirmations, and think you're really confident. You know, yes,
True.
it might help you feel more positive, but it's not going to be true intrinsic confidence. And
Yes.
it's not going to generate the kind of courageous action that you want.
Yeah.
Real confidence and real courage comes from simply doing it. So
Yes.
just start taking action. Even if they're baby steps, just keep taking action, keep at it.
Yeah.
And once you do that, you're going to look back and say, you know what, I did all those things.
Yep.
I'm capable of it. And you're giving yourself real evidence of what you're capable of. And then you can look in the mirror and say, yes, I'm all of that. Right. Then you can
Yes.
believe it. Because as much as we'd like to give ourselves positive pep talk, if we haven't done any action, there's a part of our mind that is saying, you're full of shit. That's not really true.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're
Yeah.
just saying that. So, give yourself real evidence by taking action. And that's step number 2. And
Absolutely.
step number 3 is, once you've taken that action, once you've demonstrated courage, you have to keep going, and you're going to encounter new problems, which means you have to anticipate what's coming your way,
Yep.
and you have to keep learning and growing. So that mindset of, a growth mindset, and mastering the skill of learning,
Mm.
and gives you the ability to adapt to anything that comes your way. And that's, in many ways, it's sort of like the immigrant journey, right? Like, you got to know, why are you coming here? The
Yeah.
courage to just do it even when you don't know it, and
Yeah.
then to keep adapting to change and being really agile about it. And if you can do that, then it doesn't matter what comes your way. You'll always believe that you are the kind of person who can figure it out. And that self-belief will get you to achieve anything you want.
Absolutely. And I love that. I love how you break it down, Nikki. I think so many of us sort of fall into that trap of not knowing the right direction to go in because of that lack of clarity. I struggle with it myself, and I'm still working on it, but to your point, without it, I did feel very lost. It's very
Yeah.
confusing because if you don't know which direction you're going, you literally listen to anybody else. You listen to
Yeah.
everybody else but yourself, you know?
Yeah.
So I love that. And I think that, so many of us are in that same space of, struggling right now and trying to figure out that clarity piece of it. So, thank you for making it clear. Um, you know,
One practical tip I would share about clarity is sometimes when people get caught up in that inertia of, I don't have the clarity, but I can't figure out how to get there. A very simple thing that stops that inertia is don't overthink it either. As much as clarity is important, you're also not going to get clarity if you're spinning in circles asking yourself the same question. So
Yes.
sometimes it's okay to just kind of pursue something that gives you joy, that sparks joy in you. Like if you're like, you know what, I enjoy doing this thing. I don't know where it's going to go, but I'm just going to kind of allow myself to trust that.
Yeah.
And in many ways, that's sort of how I'm where I'm at today is, I started off with sharing things from my previous entrepreneurial venture that led to the book, which led to the podcast, which led to, the business and the platform and all of those. It was just not looking for the perfect answer, but following your instincts and what sparks joy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of the success that you've achieved is so inspiring, Nikki. And it is one of the things I like about you is that you're always so inspiring and you're always so calm with your delivery and you're so sure of yourself. And I'm inspired by that. When you talk about building, how do you maintain that sort of that quietness that you have, quietness of thought, and so how do you sort of like maintain that for yourself on a daily basis? What's your
Mhm.
secret? Because you have built something amazing, you are sharing it with the world, but what do you do for yourself to maintain that?
So I have pretty well defined daily rituals that
Okay.
are really really important to me and aside from the usual things like meditation and workouts, I'll tell you the one thing that has been a daily practice for more than a decade that I really feel has been instrumental in everything I've done is daily think time. And
Mm,
what I mean by that is it's actually on my calendar that I've carve out time to think every day. And it's, in
okay.
the mornings. And, there's a specific way in which I do this think time. So it's not just sort of finding a cozy chair and sitting back and saying, I'm going to think for the next 30 minutes. You prepare for it the night before. So it's what is the question that the most important question for me to ponder on today? Right.
Mhm.
So I think of that, define that question the night before, and I have the same exact time when I do the thinking time, if you will, and the same exact spot. So it's my favorite spot. It's my favorite chair. It's kind of the Zen space in my home. And I just use a notebook and a pen. I don't use a computer or anything. And I just write that one question on the notebook the night before. So when it's time for thinking, I mark, 30 minutes for that think time. All
Okay.
I'm doing is writing the answers to that question. And
Okay.
some of it is just, gibberish. It may not be the right answer, but it's sort of
Right.
this forcing myself to just come up with ideas, almost like a forced brainstorming of sorts,
Okay.
and then leaving the last few minutes to just reflect on that. And sometimes I don't solve the question in that one session,
Yeah.
but if I don't get to a solution, I keep at it with that question. But that sort of very deep focus and dedicated time to ponder the most important question of the day,
Mhm.
not only has led to really great insights and strategies, but it turns off the noise.
Mhm.
When there's a lot of noise, you miss the signal.
Yeah.
And so you have to learn to say no to a lot of things and know exactly what to focus on. And for me, my daily think time has been absolutely instrumental in that.
Incredible, and it sounds very meditative too, right?
It is, yeah,
Okay,
yeah. So
right.
it takes practice to not judge or criticize what you're writing. Like you have to kind of like, the writing skill. If you're
Yeah,
constantly editing, you'll never get done. So this is
right.
just getting into the flow of just expressing ideas and really thinking deeply about, the question. But
Yeah.
think about how many problems we could solve, personal or professional, if we just created the space to think as opposed to just react. We often kind of go through things reacting instead of thinking about how to best respond. So it's just creating space for that.
I love that. I love that. And so, we're coming towards the end of our time here with you, Nikki, which I'm sad. We could talk for hours because you're just dropping so many gems. And make sure we're all lighting up some love for Nikki as well. Lots of hearts, lots of likes, because she is giving us everything we need this morning. So thank you, Nikki. But my final question to you is, 25 years ago, you came to America to achieve your dreams. How do you feel right now from that point to now? Are you happy? Are you feeling this sense of, I did this? Or do you feel like I've still got more to do? I've still got more to achieve. I want to kill it, you know?
Well, I'm deeply grateful. Gratitude is what gives you, the energy to do even more.
Mhm.
I think for me, the part that I'm most grateful for is living a life that is truly in congruence with my core values, which are
Mhm.
curiosity, courage, and contribution. So I'm deeply, deeply curious, which is what has got me here. And I continue to chase my curiosity and pursue new ideas and things. And the courage to, take action on that and do it in service of contribution. So as long as I get to live that, there's no, upper limit, but I'm very grateful to have come this far and do all the things I've done.
Amazing. Well, I'm completely inspired by you as always. And I'm sure a lot of us who joined this show today have written down all your tips, because I know I was. So thank you for taking the time to join the show today, Nikki. Go Beyond Barriers if you're interested in learning more about how to level up and go further faster, which I love that tagline, by the way. Like, that is
Yes.
everything. So any
One thing
final.
I would
Mhm.
recommend is for, if you go to gobeyondbarriers.com, there's a quiz that you can take, which will
Mm.
help you identify not only your strengths, but the barriers in your way. And so it's a
Mm.
free quiz. Take that quiz, you'll get your score and a personalized report that will help you hone in on exactly where to focus and
Perfect.
what challenges you should address in overcoming. So you'll get some fantastic free resources that I hope are useful to everyone.
Love that. Well, thank you so much, Nikki. I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you, everyone, for joining today for this amazing conversation. We had some really great people in the chat who said thank you for this, and Phyllis and Latoy and Dan and Brooke was even here as well supporting. So we love to see it. So join me next time for another episode of Too Ambitious. Follow Nikki on LinkedIn. Also visit gobeyondbarriers.com. All right, everyone, enjoy the rest of your day. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thanks, Trish. Thanks, everyone.